always found Dracula Has Risen from the Grave to be a bit of an odd title. We already saw him rise from the grave in the previous movie, so the impact is somewhat diminished. They must have known that because this was one of the posters. As if the point needed to be hammered home any further, they put the word "obviously" underneath the title. Okay, getting back to the film itself, this is the fourth entry in Hammer's Dracula series and the first to change up the formula. The film follows up on the events of the previous entry, with the Count once again out of commission after quite possibly the most embarrassing death scene he's ever had. However, the local villagers are still fearful of Dracula's castle, so the visiting Monsignor Muller volunteers to exorcise the unholy residents. Unfortunately, a priest who accompanies him is injured on the climb up, hitting his head and causing blood to seep into the nearby ice where Dracula, who has a reflection for some reason, is frozen. Unable to enter his castle after the exorcism, the Count plans to exact revenge on the Monsignor and those close to him. While I do have to give the movie credit for changing the setup of the previous films, there's just no getting around the fact that the script is just not as strong this time around. Although Dracula does have a personal reason for going after the protagonist this time around, the dialogue doesn't flow as well, and it seems like the focus is gradually shifting away from certain key aspects of Dracula. This was actually one of the reasons why Christopher Lee displayed repeated reluctance to reprise the role. This doesn't change the fact that he still does a stellar job. Once again, we see a different side to the character that keeps things fresh. His steely-eyed determination really sells his desire for vengeance and gives him a different goal than simply luring people into his castle. Rupert Davies is also very good as the Monsignor, going through a deterioration in demeanor from gruff determination to weakened regret. Veronica Carlson mixes good-natured devotion with a sweet naivete as the Monsignor's niece, while Barry Andrews possesses a likable everyman quality that makes him fairly appealing as her boyfriend Paul. Speaking of Paul, he is at a slight disadvantage against Dracula due to being an atheist. This is an interesting move on the writer's part, but the film doesn't go into this as much as I would have liked. In essence, it just provides an obstacle for the protagonists and a predictable arc for Paul when he finds his faith. This goes back to the script being not quite as strong as previous entries. As a result, much of the film's enjoyment comes from the stylistic direction. Instead of Terence Fisher, we have Freddie Francis, who would later be known for his cinematography on films like Dune and Glory. Whereas Fisher focused on marrying actor and set, Francis tries different angles and tricks to make each shot as visually interesting as possible. This, combined with James Bernard's score, carries the film better than the script. Overall, Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, though suffering from a somewhat weaker script, is enjoyable enough and gets by on strong performances, stylistic flair, and a shift in formula.